Listen to me very carefully, because what I'm about to tell you could be the difference between a comfortable retirement and financial disaster. If you're over 55, if you're approaching retirement, if you think you can just coast to 65 and everything will work out, you're about to get a very rude awakening. I've been in the financial world for over 4 decades. I've seen market crashes, economic meltdowns, and financial catastrophes that wiped out entire generations of retirees. But what's coming in the next few years is different. It's bigger, it's more dangerous, and most people have absolutely no idea what's about to hit them. This isn't some conspiracy theory. This isn't fear-mongering. This is cold, hard economic reality backed by numbers that don't lie. And if you don't act now, if you don't make the changes I'm going to outline in this video, you're going to join the millions of seniors who will be forced to work until they die because they can't afford to retire. Before I dive into this warning, I need you to understand something. I don't make money from scaring you. I make money from helping people build wealth. But sometimes, building wealth means facing uncomfortable truths about what's really happening in our economy. And right now, seniors are sitting on a financial time bomb and the clock is ticking. If you're serious about protecting your retirement, if you want to ensure you don't become a financial casualty of what's coming, hit that subscribe button right now. Share this video with every senior you know, because the information I'm about to share with you isn't being talked about on mainstream financial shows. It's too scary, it's too real, and it threatens too many people's comfortable illusions. Let me start with the first and most devastating threat facing seniors today: the retirement crisis that nobody wants to talk about. We're looking at the largest wave of retirees in American history, hitting an economy that's completely unprepared to support them. Here's the brutal reality. Most Americans have saved nowhere near enough for retirement. The average 65-year-old has less than $200,000 saved. $200,000. Do you know how long that lasts when you're not working? About 8 years if you're lucky. What happens in year 9? What happens in year 15 when you need expensive medical care? But it gets worse, much worse. Social Security, the system that millions of seniors are counting on, is heading toward insolvency. The trustees' report shows that by the early 2030s, Social Security will only be able to pay about 77% of promised benefits. That's a 23% cut to your Social Security check. Can you afford to lose almost a quarter of your Social Security income? And Medicare? Don't even get me started on Medicare. The Medicare Trust Fund is projected to be depleted even sooner than Social Security. We're talking about massive cuts to healthcare benefits right when you need them most, right when medical expenses typically skyrocket for seniors. Now, politicians will tell you they'll fix it. They'll promise solutions. But here's what I know about politicians. They don't fix problems. They kick them down the road until they become someone else's problem. And right now, that someone else is you. But the retirement crisis is just the beginning. We're also facing an inflation monster that's destroying the purchasing power of seniors faster than any other demographic. When I started my career, a dollar was worth a dollar. Today, that same dollar is worth about 20 cents compared to when I was young. And inflation isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. Everything seniors need most, healthcare, housing, food, utilities, these costs are rising faster than overall inflation. Your fixed income isn't fixed to anything except losing value every single day. If you're living on a pension or Social Security or fixed annuities, you're watching your standard of living erode in real time. And here's the part that really makes me angry. The government keeps telling you inflation is under control. They manipulate the numbers. They exclude the things that are actually going up in price. They use hedonic adjustments and substitution bias to make inflation look lower than it really is. Meanwhile, you're at the grocery store paying 50% more for the same food you bought 2 years ago. This is theft. It's the theft of purchasing power from people who can least afford it. And it's only getting worse because the government has to keep printing money to fund their massive spending programs. Every dollar they print makes your dollars worth less. The third major threat, and this one is particularly insidious, is the housing crisis that's forcing seniors out of their homes. Property taxes are skyrocketing, maintenance costs are through the roof, insurance premiums are going crazy, and if you're thinking about downsizing, good luck finding something affordable. The housing market has been completely distorted by low interest rates, government intervention, and speculative investment. Young people can't afford to buy homes, so they're competing with seniors for rental properties. This drives up rental costs for seniors who need to downsize. It's a vicious cycle that leaves seniors with fewer and fewer affordable options. And if you think you can just sell your big house and buy something smaller, think again. The transaction costs alone will eat up a huge chunk of your home equity. Realtor commissions, closing costs, moving expenses, plus you're selling at a time when mortgage rates are high, which means fewer buyers and potentially lower selling prices. This brings me to the fourth threat, and this one keeps me up at night. The healthcare cost explosion that's bankrupting seniors. Medical expenses are the #1 cause of bankruptcy among people over 65. Let that sink in. The #1 cause of bankruptcy for seniors isn't bad investments or overspending. It's healthcare costs. Even with Medicare, even with supplemental insurance, seniors are getting hit with medical bills that would bankrupt most families. A serious illness can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Cancer treatment, heart surgery, long-term care for dementia or stroke. These aren't luxury expenses you can choose to avoid. These are life and death necessities that can wipe out a lifetime of savings in months. And here's the dirty secret about Medicare that nobody tells you. It doesn't cover everything, not even close. Medicare doesn't cover dental care, vision care, hearing aids, most long-term care. The average senior spends over $5,000 a year out of pocket on healthcare expenses that Medicare doesn't cover, $5,000 that has to come from somewhere else. But wait, it gets worse. Medicare premiums keep going up every year. Medicare Part B premiums have doubled in the last decade, and if you're what they consider a high-income senior making more than $97,000 a year, you pay even more. They call it an income-related monthly adjustment amount. I call it a penalty for being successful. Long-term care is the biggest healthcare threat of all. The average cost of a nursing home is over $100,000 a year. $100,000. And the average stay is almost 3 years. That's $300,000 right there. Medicare doesn't pay for this. Medicaid only kicks in after you've spent down almost all your assets. This brings me to the fifth threat that's absolutely crushing seniors. The tax trap that most people don't see coming until it's too late. If you have traditional retirement accounts, 401k, traditional IRA, these accounts are tax time bombs waiting to explode. Here's what happens. When you retire and start taking required minimum distributions at age 73, you're forced to take money out of these accounts whether you need it or not. And every dollar you take out gets taxed as ordinary income. If you've been saving diligently for decades, you might find yourself in a higher tax bracket in retirement than you were while working. But that's not the worst part. Tax rates are historically low right now, but they're scheduled to go up significantly. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expires, and tax rates are going back to where they were. Plus, with all the government spending and debt, do you really think taxes are going down? Of course not. They're going up, way up. So you're going to be forced to take distributions from your retirement accounts at higher tax rates than you paid when you put the money in. That's not tax deferral. That's tax amplification. You're going to pay more taxes in retirement than you saved while working. And if you die with money still in those traditional retirement accounts, your beneficiaries get hammered with taxes. The Secure Act killed the stretch IRA. Now your kids or grandkids have to empty your inherited retirement accounts within 10 years, and they pay taxes on every distribution. This could push them into the highest tax brackets and cost your family hundreds of thousands of dollars in unnecessary taxes. The sixth threat is something most seniors never consider until it's too late. Technology disruption that's making traditional retirement planning obsolete. The financial services industry is changing faster than ever before. Traditional pensions are extinct. Social Security is broken. The old rules don't work anymore. Artificial intelligence is eliminating jobs faster than new ones are being created. The gig economy means fewer people have access to traditional benefits. Younger generations aren't saving for retirement the way previous generations did. This means there are fewer workers supporting each retiree, which puts more pressure on Social Security and Medicare. At the same time, technology is creating new investment opportunities that most seniors don't understand or participate in. Cryptocurrency, digital assets, alternative investments. While these markets are creating massive wealth for younger, tech-savvy investors, seniors are being left behind with their traditional portfolios of stocks and bonds that aren't keeping up with inflation. But here's the seventh threat, and this might be the most dangerous of all, the political risk that could change everything overnight. We're living in the most politically volatile time in modern history. Policy changes that used to take decades now happen in months or even weeks. Look at what happened during the pandemic. Government spending exploded. They printed trillions of dollars out of thin air. Interest rates went to zero. Asset prices went crazy. Inflation came roaring back. All of this happened in less than 2 years. And seniors, people on fixed incomes, got crushed. Now imagine what could happen in the next few years. Wealth taxes on retirement accounts means testing for Social Security and Medicare. Caps on retirement account balances. Mandatory annuitization of retirement savings. These aren't conspiracy theories. These are actual proposals being discussed in Washington right now. Politicians are looking for money anywhere they can find it. And where do they look? They look at the trillions of dollars sitting in retirement accounts. They see that as a piggy bank, they can raid to fund their spending programs. They'll call it fairness. They'll call it asking the wealthy to pay their fair share. But what they're really doing is stealing your retirement savings. The eighth and final major threat is something that affects every aspect of your retirement planning: the death of the dollar as the world's reserve currency. This is already happening. China, Russia, and other major economies are creating alternatives to the dollar-based international financial system. When the dollar loses its reserve currency status, and it will, everything changes. Import prices skyrocket, interest rates explode, government borrowing costs go through the roof. The Federal Reserve loses its ability to print money without consequences, and seniors, people living on fixed dollar-denominated incomes, get absolutely destroyed. We're seeing the early stages of this right now. Central banks around the world are buying gold at record levels. They're reducing their dollar holdings. They're creating new payment systems that bypass the dollar entirely. This isn't happening in some distant future. This is happening right now, and most Americans have no idea what's coming. When the dollar collapses, and I believe it will happen sooner than most people think, it will be the greatest transfer of wealth in human history. And seniors will be the biggest losers because their savings, their pensions, their Social Security benefits are all denominated in dollars that will be worth a fraction of what they are today. Now, I know what you're thinking. Kevin, you've just painted the most depressing picture of retirement I've ever heard. Why should I even bother planning for the future if everything is going to collapse anyway? Because giving up is not an option. And because there are specific actions you can take right now to protect yourself and even prosper during the chaos that's coming. I didn't build my fortune by panicking. I built it by seeing problems before everyone else and positioning myself to benefit when those problems create opportunities. And that's exactly what I'm going to teach you to do right now. But you have to act fast because time is running out. The first thing you must do immediately is diversify out of dollar-denominated assets. I'm not saying sell everything and buy gold bars, although precious metals should be part of your strategy. I'm talking about intelligent diversification that protects you regardless of what happens to the dollar. Real estate investment trusts that own international properties, dividend-paying stocks from companies that generate revenue in multiple currencies, energy investments that benefit from inflation and dollar weakness. These are assets that maintain their value when currencies fluctuate because they represent real economic value, not just paper promises. But here's the key: you can't wait until the crisis hits. By then, everyone will be trying to do the same thing, and prices will have already moved. The time to diversify is now, while most people are still asleep at the wheel, while they're still believing the government's fairy tales about everything being fine. The second critical action is to convert your traditional retirement accounts to Roth accounts as quickly as possible. Yes, you'll pay taxes on the conversion, but you'll pay them at today's low tax rates instead of tomorrow's high tax rates. And once that money is in a Roth account, it grows tax-free forever. Your required minimum distributions don't apply to Roth accounts during your lifetime. Your beneficiaries still have to empty the account within 10 years, but they pay zero taxes on the distributions. This single strategy could save your family hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes over the long term. But you have to be smart about how you do the conversions. Don't convert everything in 1 year and push yourself into the highest tax bracket. Spread the conversions over several years. Convert enough each year to fill up your current tax bracket, then stop. This minimizes the total tax cost while getting your money out of the tax time bomb. The third action you must take is to create multiple streams of income that aren't dependent on government programs or traditional pensions. This means building a portfolio of dividend-paying stocks, real estate investment trusts, and other income-producing assets. But not just any income-producing assets. You need assets that can raise their payouts faster than inflation, companies with pricing power that can pass increased costs on to their customers, utilities, consumer staples, healthcare companies that provide essential services people need regardless of economic conditions. You also need to consider working longer than you originally planned, but not in the way you think. Instead of working in your old career until you drop dead, consider transitioning to part-time consulting or teaching in your field of expertise. This gives you additional income while allowing you to maintain some control over your schedule. The fourth critical action is to prepare for the healthcare cost explosion before you need expensive medical care. This means investing in your health right now. Preventive care, regular exercise, proper nutrition, stress management. The best healthcare investment is staying healthy in the first place. But you also need to plan for the worst case scenario. Long-term care insurance, while expensive, is still cheaper than paying for long-term care out of pocket. Health savings accounts, if you're eligible, give you triple tax benefits: tax-deductible contributions, tax-free growth, tax-free withdrawals for qualified medical expenses. Consider relocating to a state with lower costs of living and lower taxes. This isn't just about saving money on housing. It's about reducing your overall cost of living so your retirement savings last longer. States with no income tax, lower property taxes, reasonable health care costs. These moves can add years to your financial independence. The fifth action is to get your estate planning updated immediately. The estate tax exemption is scheduled to be cut in half. Gift tax rules are changing. The rules for inherited retirement accounts have already changed dramatically. If your estate planning documents are more than 3 years old, they're probably obsolete. This isn't just about taxes. It's about making sure your assets transfer efficiently to your beneficiaries without unnecessary costs or delays. Revocable trusts, properly structured beneficiary designations, updated powers of attorney for healthcare and finances. These documents need to reflect current law and your current situation. The sixth action, and this one is crucial, is to build liquid emergency reserves that can handle multiple years of expenses. Not the traditional 3 to 6 months that financial planners recommend. I'm talking about 2 to 3 years of living expenses in cash and cash equivalents. Why so much? Because in the crisis that's coming, you might not be able to access your other investments when you need them. Markets might be closed, banks might be restricting withdrawals, government programs might be suspended. You need enough liquid cash to ride out the storm without being forced to sell other assets at the worst possible time. But don't keep all this cash in regular bank accounts. Spread it across different types of institutions: credit unions, online banks, money market funds, short-term treasury bills. Diversify your cash just like you diversify your investments. The seventh action is to reduce your fixed expenses as much as possible while you still have income. Pay off your mortgage if you can. Eliminate credit card debt completely. Reduce your monthly obligations so you need less income to maintain your lifestyle. This isn't about being cheap. This is about creating financial flexibility. When your fixed expenses are low, you have more options. You can weather economic storms. You can take advantage of opportunities. You can sleep better at night knowing you're not one economic shock away from financial disaster. Finally, the most important action you can take is to educate yourself continuously. The financial world is changing faster than ever. The strategies that worked for previous generations won't work for you. You need to stay informed, stay flexible, and stay ahead of the curve. Subscribe to financial newsletters from people who tell you the truth, not what you want to hear. Read books about economic history so you understand how these crises unfold. Network with other people who are taking these threats seriously. Knowledge is your best defense against financial catastrophe. But most importantly, act now. Don't wait for more confirmation. Don't wait for the mainstream media to catch up. Don't wait for your financial advisor to recommend these strategies, because most of them won't until it's too late. By then, the opportunities will be gone and the protection will be much more expensive. The seniors who survive and thrive in what's coming will be the ones who saw it coming and prepared for it. The ones who took action while everyone else was asleep. The ones who refused to believe the comfortable lies and face the uncomfortable truth. If this video has opened your eyes to what's really happening, if you're ready to stop hoping for the best and start preparing for reality, then share this video with every senior you know. Hit that like button to tell the algorithm this message needs to reach more people. And subscribe to this channel, because I'm going to keep bringing you the truth, even when it's painful to hear. Your financial future depends on the decisions you make in the next few months. Make them wisely, make them quickly, and make them based on reality, not wishful thinking. That's how you protect your retirement. That's how you win.